Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the WriteSea Executive Interview Series. I'm Anthony Allegretti, the Creative Director for WriteSea, and we are here today speaking with Mr. Simon Wingate, Managing Director of read.co.uk, one of the biggest job boards in London. And we're here to talk to him about his story, talk to him about his business, and just get to know the man. And so welcome to the WriteSea Executive Interview Series, Mr. Simon.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. How's it going out there in London right now?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Yeah, all well here. How about you?
Oh man, it's nice. I'm here down in San Diego. Can't complain. It's always nice when it's sunny. How's the weather out there?
Not quite as sunny here as it is in San Diego, unfortunately. But hey, we're used to it over here. We're used to it.
Yes, I'm sure. So please tell everybody, who you are, what your title is, and what you do at Read.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Simon Wingate. So I'm the managing director here at read.co.uk. So I've been with the business for 13 years. So I guess my responsibility, I've got overall responsibility for the strategy of our business, and also I guess delivering amazing services to our users. So yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing. As I said, I've been here a wee while in different forms, but yeah, I've been here for some time now.
Nice. And so what got you into the industry? Like, how did you get started? I see that you've been working at Read for almost 14 years now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I guess like many of us, it wasn't necessarily what I'd started out to do, but I sort of stumbled into the industry somewhat after leaving university. I worked for a B2B publisher selling recruitment advertising in business-to-business publications. So I started doing that as a sales exec and then worked up into managerial roles. I moved here back in 2010 to run some of our sales teams. And yeah, as I said, I've had the opportunity, which has been fantastic, to try lots of different things in my sort of 13 and a half years. So whether that be running sales teams, I had a role which was very cross-functional. I worked with an external management consultancy on a big project. And then 3 years ago, almost, I moved into the managing director role. So yeah, I've sort of grown up in commercial roles. As I say, I'd actually initially wanted to get into journalism, which is why I sort of started with that publisher. But I guess I found my niche and no looking back.
Really? Okay. Journalism. Did you, were you a writer?
I was. What's the best way of putting this? I had aspirations to be a writer, but I never actually got round to writing a great deal. So maybe that's the reason I didn't get into that field of work in the end. But as I say, I started in the sales role, as I say, to get a foot into the publishing business. But really enjoyed it. I love the people that I work with. Really enjoyed the kind of buzz of the sales environment, and I guess I must have been quite good at it, because I guess I'm still doing a variation of it all these years later.
Sure. And a really cool thing is, you've been with this company for such a long time, and I believe you started, in the sales position and then kind of worked your way up to, managing director. What, for those out there, like, this, evolving into a role after 14 years isn't common anymore,
Yep.
Right? Like, most people are working in their positions 2-3 years, changing companies, and going with another company. And so you decided to stay. What are some things you could tell the viewers out there that would make them want to stay with a company for that long, and why? Right? Because like I said earlier, most people aren't staying in these positions that long.
Yeah, really great question. And I think the way I look back at my time here, and actually, as I say, I've only worked at 2 places as a grown-up, one for 9 years and one for 13 and a half years. So I guess I'm either inherently loyal or I'm inherently risk averse. I don't know which. But I think for me, the reason I've stayed where I am for so long is probably firstly is I'm really passionately believe in what we're here to do. So we share a purpose with the rest of the Read group of companies, which is improving lives through work. And I actually think that it's a purpose which is very important to me. I want to do something in an organization which has real societal impact. And there's not many careers or industries that you can work in where you can affect the lives of millions of people every day, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to connect people with a job they'll love. And it's incredibly important what we're here to achieve. So that really is very much at the heart of one of the reasons why I've stayed here so long. I guess the other reason is that I've been given great opportunity. So part of that is, I've sought out opportunity within our organization. So where there have been projects that I can get involved in, whether that be building really good internal networks, that's been really important to, I guess, my development here as well. And I think that that's really one of the foundations of why I've managed to kind of move into the role I am now, because I know our industry very well. I know our customers. I know our internal teams, our setup. I've got the trust, hopefully, of our owner, our chairman. And I think I'm really, as I say, I'm very passionate about moving our business forward positively so we can develop amazing services. So again, I would advise anyone to find an organization that you connect with the purpose of, that you really feel passionate about the work that you're doing, but also you're trying every day to make an impact, however small that may be. I get home. One of the things I do every day, I get home and I write a note every day. What went well, what didn't go so well, and what have I learned? And I've been doing that for the last couple of years now, and it really helps me develop as a person, but also see how I can maybe learn from the mistakes that I've made.
I like that. That's really interesting. And, I think passion is really important. When you love what you do, you're around great people, it just makes it to where it doesn't even feel like work. You know what I mean? And so that's awesome that you were able to find that within a company like this and be able to evolve and work your way up. Now you're, a veteran, so to speak, with the company. And so when new people come on, they probably bring them to you to give them a pep talk, and, get them excited about working for Reed. That's pretty awesome. I love the journaling too. I think things like that are really important. I think working on self is really important. Would you agree that, in your career, that taking the time out to invest in yourself is important?
Yeah, I would. I'm naturally incredibly self-critical, and I guess the reason I started doing this was I worked with an executive coach, actually, an external person, to kind of help me be a better leader, but also actually to help me move some of that self-criticism to something positive, which is why, as I say, the what didn't go so well translates into, and what have I learned and what would I do better next time? So rather than just dwelling on this wasn't so great, it's actually, well, what have I learned and how can I turn that learning into something positive? And actually, certainly working within a business which is very much driven by product development, that methodology, part of the agile methodology, the sort of fail fast, but really test and learn mentality. I guess I'm trying to use that for my own self-improvement as well.
Sure. I mean, look, smooth seas don't make skillful sailors, right? So, going through all that rough terrain and learning how to be a leader is part of being a leader. You can't really teach being a leader. You could give the guidelines, almost like you can't teach public speaking, right? You just got to get up and do it. Like you can teach someone how to speak, you could teach someone how to be a leader, but it's only when you get into those roles and actually be that leader is where you really learn. So I like that. Let's talk a little bit about Reed and what you guys are doing over there. What are you guys most excited about this year?
Yeah, good question. So there's quite a lot that we're doing now and we're projecting forward that we'll do in the future, which I think is really exciting. I think the industry that we're in at the moment is, we're in a challenging market within the UK in terms of sort of the economic outlook. We're in a bit of a sort of recessionary period at the moment. There's relatively little growth projected for the rest of this year. So what we're needing to do is obviously find innovative ways of, I guess, stimulating business growth, but also generating great services for the users who are out there looking for jobs at the moment. So whether that or the customers that are looking to recruit. So I think there's a few things which I'm really excited about. We're in a technological revolution one could look at through the lens of AI. That's a really important change that's going on in our market. And I think there's really great opportunities within the recruitment hemisphere for the services or the experiences that people receive, whether they're recruiting or whether they're looking for a job. There's really exciting things that we can do to make people's experience better connect them to a job they'll love. That's what we're here to do. So that's one thing which I'm really excited about. I'm very much looking forward to the market picking up towards the second half of this year so we can help even more people find work. I think that's really important. But I guess what I'm also excited about is that, the further evolution of our service. So we don't consider ourselves to be a job board, for example, even though that's often how we're categorized. We see ourselves very much as a jobs and careers site. because we have, as well as having a great jobs platform, we have over 100,000 courses on our website, which are there for people who are looking to develop their skills or look for their next qualification, which will obviously enable them to find their next role as well. So that's a really important component of what we do. So we've got some really exciting plans about how we can develop that service as well. So I guess one of the things I'm really excited about is how we can better provide more of a, I guess, career partnership experience to job seekers in future. Because again, if they're looking for their next job, they can come to read.co.uk. But also if they're looking for a way of improving their skill set to make them more marketable for a future job, we can help them with that as well. So I think the ways in which we can marry those services together is something which I'm really looking forward to.
I think that's a great point. I think that the market is evolving into more of a candidate focused market, right? I think that as we, progress over these next couple of years, it's about what can we do to increase the overall experience for the candidate. Typically, job boards, aggregators have focused more on the actual job listings and not so much on, the candidate in terms of monetization and things like that. And so, at WriteSea, that's something that we focus really heavy on is, what can we do, pre-job, during your job, and post-job to help that candidate over its whole life cycle. And so you bring up a good point. Are you guys doing anything currently in addition to the education that is very candidate centric?
Well, yeah, good question. So I think all of our developments are very much focused on with the end user in mind. So obviously it's because we're in a marketplace, we need to make sure we're doing right by the job seekers, the candidates, as well as the people who are looking to hire. But I think what we've really focused on in the last couple of years from a kind of job seeker or candidate experience point of view is very much trying to streamline the process as much as we can, making it much easier for people to find jobs that are relevant to them. So we have used some AI internally, some AI to kind of help us make better recommendations, to provide more relevant matches, to deliver job listings in a more timely and relevant fashion. So these are all there to make sure that candidates can find the right role for them with as little effort as possible, because we know that it's very critical for us to provide that because we're in a very competitive space. So we want to make sure that we're providing as good an experience as we can so that someone uses our service rather than others. So but no, the kind of candidate experience is very much front and center of what we're trying to do, because we know that that has a residual impact, positive residual impact on the recruiting customer as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think upskilling is just as important as well, to help candidates progress in their careers. Yeah. Speaking of AI, what role do you think AI currently plays in the recruitment process, and how has it transformed like traditional recruiting practices?
Yeah, so obviously there's been a lot written about this topic in recent months, and I know there is naturally some skepticism or concern about what artificial intelligence can do in our market. And I think anyone who's working with it has to be very mindful of the, I guess, ethical and legislative challenges that it presents. But I think what is really important here is the fact that it should be a huge enabler to the experience that users get. It certainly helps organizations like ours hopefully get great services to market quicker. But I think the things that AI should be looking to do is to solve the problems or challenges that have been in the market for a very long time. How do I, as a job seeker, find a relevant job listing or a relevant opportunity as quickly as I can? How do I know, for example, that I am matched to that? How do I know that I have a high likelihood of being successful? These are things that I think artificial intelligence will help us with in the coming years. But also I think from a business's standpoint, so someone who's looking to recruit, there are lots of opportunity there to improve the experience. So almost like the reverse of what I was talking about, rather than just a candidate thinking, how am I likely, or how likely am I to be successful? You can very much look at it on the other way and say that AI, I think, will help recruiters understand whether a candidate is likely to be a great hire. Will they have the right skills? Are they likely to have the right tenure? I think those sorts of components are incredibly important. But actually, even just taking it out of the service that businesses like ours provide, I think if you're an employer or a recruitment consultant, for example, some of the AI tools out there should do a really good job of allowing you to become more efficient. So if we can help job seekers stand out from others, really demonstrate their skills, it makes the life of a recruiter much easier as well.
Oh, absolutely. Right. It's a daunting task to have to try to find a job and have to, craft a cover letter for each job, have to, you know, redo your resume for every single job you apply to and tweak it and make sure things are right. Things like salary negotiations, you know, cover letter writing, all of those things are really important in the job seeker process. And I think AI will allow that. In fact, we just launched a tool a few months back called Job Search Genius. We love it. It's been helping so many people. And we think that that's, you know, our way of bringing AI to the market and being successful. You know, I was going to ask you, you know, you brought the point up about ethics, you know, like how do we ensure like the ethical use of AI in recruitment, particularly in terms of, you know, candidate data privacy, algorithmic fairness, you know, things like that. Can you, you know, shed your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think the way that I look at this is I think it's very important for organizations who are using AI to solve these problems that you have very clear ethical standards built into your processes so that you understand what you're trying to achieve with this piece of tooling. So I think that's incredibly important. We do know there are, you know, bias is a really important conversation within the recruitment process. So we know that there is inherently conscious and unconscious bias in many processes. And we also know, I'm sure we've all read articles to talk about bits of artificial intelligence tooling that have been built into recruitment processes, which are arguably possibly as biased as the person who's built them. So how do you because it's a AI service which is enabled by data which is collected by humans about humans, how do you remove bias from those services? I think for me, because of things like that, challenges like that, it's incredibly important that organizations understand the ethical components of it and they're asking those questions whilst developing the service. Because again, without being mindful of those things, you could completely unconsciously or accidentally build something which has all of the right intent, but actually might not consider an individual's privacy, might give actually potentially damaging advice, and certainly doesn't consider things like bias within the process. So I think, setting out the rules, setting out your organizational principles, kind of the ethical components that you always should bring into the build part of the service, I think are probably three ways in which you can try and mitigate some of those risks.
Sure. What future advancements in AI do you foresee impacting the recruitment industry the most?
Well, I think above and beyond some of the things that we've talked about in terms of kind of candidate and recruiter experience, I think some of the other ways in which it will hopefully enable people within this market. I think in many ways it should democratize things. So if you're a candidate and previously, as you sort of articulated earlier on, if you don't know how to write a great cover letter, if you don't know what jobs you should be applying for, maybe if you haven't had access or haven't had the privilege of having access to career advice, I think some of these AI tools should allow you to get access to things which you wouldn't otherwise have had access to, if that makes sense. Yes. So rather than it just being, I guess, great career advice being in the being in the lap of the few, it should actually be in the lap of the many. So I think as I say, which is why I use the word democratize, it should actually level the playing field for many people. I know that there is the flip side of that is actually if you make
the law of diminishing returns, right? What ends up happening? Everyone has that.
Yeah, and you get some point where if everyone's using the same AI tools to create their profile and CV and their application, then if you're an employer, you just get hundreds of the same application through with the same CV, with the same candidate profile. So I think it needs to bring a level of individualism into the process as well. And you probably get a point where an AI is talking to an AI. But I do think, irrespective of the advance of technology, recruitment is a people business. There is a person in the process who's looking for work, and there is a person who is in the process who's looking for talented people to join their organization. So AI becomes the enabler to connect those two together. But ultimately, what it comes down to, cutting through all of that stuff, is that there are people who need to be matched and connected to each other. And I think AI becomes the enabler of that experience.
I agree. I think that's a really good point. I think we're so early on in AI's career that we won't see the law of diminishing returns for a while. I mean, it might, what took us, 100 years to get to a point in, manufacturing. Now we're in technology. Things are happening every 10 years. Now with AI, things are happening every 1 year. But I think there's going to be more tools that are built that are smarter, that will, create that difference that we're looking for, that you're talking about. I I love AI, man. I use it every single day. Do you use AI like personally? Like, are you using ChatGPT? Do you use it to write? Do you use it to ask questions?
Yeah, so we've funny enough, we've been talking about this internally actually recently. So I do, but I think
Okay.
I'm being encouraged to use it more. So I've sort of dipped my toe in the water. But I guess as we're developing services based with some of this technology, I should probably spend more of my time doing it. That being said, I'm an English literature graduate, and
Yes, you are. Yes, that's right.
I have particular, what's the word I'm looking for? I have certain neuroses about how people write and those sorts of things. So I think I will always, even if I was to use it, I'd want to make sure that I use it as a basis of creating something which has my personality behind it, if that makes sense.
100% agree. So I made 2 chat GPTs recently for both organizations that I work with. I fed it with everything about those organizations. I gave it as much data as I possibly could. So then now when I go to write for those organizations, it has my style and feel.
Yeah,
You obviously
that's
can't
really
take
important.
exactly, right? And you can't just take what you get on the first prompt, right? Like you got to fine tune and then you take that and then you take a paragraph out of that and you rewrite that and then you continuously use it. So it's used as a tool and not as just, you know, a a, a cheat code, right? So to
Yeah,
speak. Well, it is a cheat code, but you don't use it in the sense of you put something into it and then whatever it gives you back, you then use that. Like you got to
yeah,
fine tune it. Otherwise it'll sound artificial intelligence.
yeah.
It'll
Agreed.
sound, very wordy. And so you have to, I like to call remix it. But I say that to say, speaking of your journalism background, and I do a lot of writing and I do a lot of, LinkedIn posts and YouTube descriptions and different things like that. I use it every day and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, incorporating it, maybe, pull on your little journalism bug that you have and continue to use it. But that's awesome, man. Well, like I said, before this interview, it's going to be very lighthearted and just want to kind of get your background, your take on things like AI, things about what Reed is doing. Is there anything that you guys are, specifically launching over the next couple of months that you'd like to promote or talk about or projects?
Yeah, so I think a continuation of what we've just been speaking about. So we've got a number of things lined up over the coming months, which are very much moving forward with regards to improving the experience that we provide to candidates and to customers. We've moved some of our commercial propositions. We're very much kind of investigating and moving into the world of performance-based services. So we've developed a number of those over the last 12 months. So we're going to be continuing to forge ahead in that world as a complement to our... So, for example, we've got a number of pay-for-performance services which we are launching. So some of that is self-service, some of it can be purchased through our sales team. But that's as a complement to the main tenancy or duration-based service that we've had for, I guess, for as long as we've been in existence. So we're trying to create a very much a hybridized model. So if customers want to buy on a pay-for-performance basis, because that's how their budgets work, they're moving much more into the kind of recruitment marketing, digital recruitment marketing sphere, then they can work with us in that way. But again, if they want to use traditional duration-based services, they can do that as well. So that's something that we're really working through to make sure that we have a full suite of services, irrespective of which commercial model that user wants to purchase. Ultimately, it's based on what their business outcome is trying to drive. So that's one example of one of the things that we're doing for our customers. But no, we've got lots of plans. As I say, we've got our jobs and courses propositions. We're very much kind of gearing towards this kind of careers partnership model, which we've talked about. So no, I think the next 12 months we'll see some exciting stuff coming out for sure.
Well, awesome. I really appreciate it. If you had to describe Reed in one word, what would it be?
Can I use 2 words?
Okay.
So I'd say love Mondays.
Love Mondays?
So what we're here to do is to make sure that everyone gets up on a Monday morning, they're excited to go to work. Whereas we know that that's not how everyone feels. So love Mondays is what the 2 words I would use to describe what we're here to try and achieve.
I love it. I love it. Love Mondays. Love Mondays. Do you love Mondays?
You know what I do? We start our Mondays with a management meeting to see what's going on. But I do. As I say, I'm really passionate about what we do here, and I think I definitely see kind of every week as an opportunity to make our business better and make people's lives better as well.
I love it. Well, let's close this out with if you could give one piece of advice to you know, a mid-career professional, C-suite job seeker, what would it be?
I would say identify what your passions are and identify an organization that can help you bring that passion to life. I think that's really, really important for people to do. I think if you can do that, you get great fulfillment from your job. It certainly makes the week go much quicker. It allows you to love Monday. So yeah, find something you're passionate about and really try and bring that to life for sure.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. This will be housed on our YouTube channel. We love sharing the stories of the different executives within the online recruitment marketplace, and get to know a little bit about them. Please let everybody know how they can find you, and where they can find Reed, and find you online.
Yeah, great. So you can find me on LinkedIn. So as I say, my name is Simon Wingate. Our URL for our website is reed.co.uk. So that's where you can find us. But yeah, I hope whoever's been listening or watching this has enjoyed it, and feel free to get in touch with me if you want to talk any further, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming out. This is Anthony, Creative Director for WriteSea and the WriteSea Executive Interview Series. Thank you, and we will see you next time.